Okay, so for the last several weeks, different students have been publishing different challenges in the platform in order to know what they consider are going to be the future challenge for companies, especially for small and medium companies. We have summarized all these different challenges in 7 ones. These are the ones that we have considered are the most important ones, so the ones that are going to be more sensible in the future markets, and also are the ones that probably summarize some other different challenges that more or less are related with these ones. These 7 challenges are, for instance, the need of really detecting much faster the customer's needs and reacting to these needs. Another big challenge that's been published is the one about big data, what to do with what technology today provides in order to know much better what customers are demanding. Another one is about mass customization, the idea that nowadays mass production is not longer working. Customers are every day more and more demanding for specific products, not for products for everyone. Another of the challenges we've been talking about is being the one about how to prototype faster. This challenge obviously has a relation with all that we have been talking. The idea that companies really need to know much better how to put products in the market and how to make these products much closer to customer needs. Another thing is that we've been talking about and publishing and writing in this platform is being about how to be able to co-create with customers, the idea of how to make possible to put customers in the process of innovation, and also has a kind of summary of all these challenges. We've been talking about how make possible for big companies to work as a startup. The idea that the startups are really the ones that are more able of overcoming all these challenges, how to make possible that even if you are not a startup, how to work and function as a startup. So the first one about how to detect customers needs, how to detect customers' needs in real time. Obviously, we've been talking about the idea that we live in a much more complex markets. Markets are really developing much faster, are more complicated. How to be able to really work in these markets that are not the markets that we used to have just a few years ago. So obviously we've been talking about the idea of customer-centric, of working in a customer-centric approach. The idea that this is something that's been on the management studies for a long time, but really our company is really working in this way, so we decided that most of the times it's not. And also the idea of how to do it in real time, how to be really fast to detect and react to these needs. For instance, in every challenge, we've been publishing and talking about some examples of some companies that already are trying to overcome these challenges, to address these challenges. For instance, in this about customer needs in real time, we talk about Cognitor. Cognitor is a company that, for instance, is making automatic the idea of responding to customer service. The idea of making what the people is telling to customer services, use this information in order to really respond much better. So not just react to a problem, but to learn from the problem and solve it for the future. That's something that is very, you could think that all companies are doing, but they are not doing it, and technology today allows to respond much better. Another idea about how to respond much better to what the customers needs is the example of IKEA hackers. This idea that this could be called a kind of movement. It's just customers that are buying and using IKEA products, but in their own way. So with this movement, we talk about the idea of that, for instance, IKEA could really check what the customers need, just observing what they are doing. This idea that all techniques of focus groups or interviews or market research is a kind of old practices, and today technology and social media on blogs and the internet in general makes much possible really to really observe the customers, what they are doing with our products. Very linked with this idea is the challenge of co-create with customers. If customers are really in a better position to really tell us what they want, how to be able to work with them. It's very clear all the benefits that co-create with customers can have for companies, but it's not so easy to implement. So we've been talking about what tools to use, how, for instance, change corporate culture, how to change the culture of management when customers are going to be the ones who are going to tell them what to do and what not to do. So this has been the kind of issues we've been talking with this challenge. Cultural barriers, technology barriers, etc. And as examples for this challenge, we've been talking about examples as Munich. This is a sports shoes company in Catalonia, which has been very successful, really using all their community in social media in order to co-create with them products, in this case, sports shoes. For instance, making contests or just showing the models or the prototypes to the customers and just asking them if they would like or not to be in this products in the market. Another typical example of this co-creation with customers is Lego. Kusho Lego, which is a joint venture between Lego and Kusho, a Japanese company. In this case, the idea is that the customers are the ones proposing the kind of new models for Lego to be in the market in the future, and they are using a kind of crowdsourcing platform in order for the customers to really back these new ideas before they are produced. Another of the challenge, very linked with this idea of really taking in more consideration the customers, is Reinvented Retail. Obviously, when we talk about Reinvented Retail, we've been talking about e-commerce and how e-commerce is going to change the way we market and we sell products, and how to hybridate this idea of online with the offline. Once everyone is able to click and buy everything from any other for any part of the world, what to do with the traditional shops. So we've been delivering a little bit of these new ideas, and as examples we talk about, for instance, Desigual, which is a Catalonian brand, fashion brand, who just opened a year ago a new shop that is completely different of the kind of shops you can find just a few years ago. The idea is that you really have an experience buying fashion. You have a space that is not so much a store of products, but is a place where you can have a very different experience of buying, and then afterwards, once you have choose what you want, you don't have the product in the shop. You can buy it online. So the shop is never more a place where to store products and to buy, but to have an experience at the buying online, kind of turning the shops into a kind of showroom. This is something that Desigual is already doing. Another idea that's been published in relation with this challenge is being the one that Tesco supermarket just experienced very successfully in Seoul a year ago, creating a kind of supermarket virtually in a wall in a subway station in Seoul, and making possible for the people waiting for the next train to buy just using their mobiles, taking the QR codes with the products, and just sending these products are afterwards sent to the customer's home. So it's so the idea is nowadays it's possible to really have a shop everywhere. Another of the challenges has been about mass customization. As I said before, the idea that big markets or massive markets doesn't work anymore. People want something personalized, something that they consider is made for themselves. This is very easy to demand, but then obviously it's not so easy to deliver. So we've been talking then how for companies how to make possible this idea of producing in a massive way with all the advantage like price, etc., but also being able to deliver to the customers something that they consider is just for themselves. Obviously, we're talking about that. Nowadays, this is technology makes it possible, but also we've been talking about if companies are really able to produce it. Some examples about this mass customization challenge is, for instance, what Coca-Cola is doing with Freestyle, which is a vending machine that can deliver, I think it's 100 different types of beverage. Or, for instance, talking not so much about products, but about services, what, for instance, Progressive, which is an insurance company, is doing with the car insurance. The idea in this case is for me, is very revolutionary because it doesn't change the product or the service itself. It changes really the business model. In this case, the idea is you are not going to pay for all people for other people that is driving in a worse way. You pay depending on how good driver you are. So you have a device. This device, once more, technology is paramount in here. You have a device. You put this device in your car. The device tells the insurance company how you are driving, and then depending on how good driver you are or bad driver, you pay one quote or another. So it's mass customization in a very revolutionary way. Prototypes, we've been talking about how to make possible to prototype. Prototype is nothing new, but companies nowadays really needs prototype to put products in the market much faster. So how to prototype much faster, we've been talking about how to do it and also how to change the old idea of what prototype was. We talk about the idea that prototype has today, in most of cases, is more a kind of, is taken from an engineering point of view. It's just in order to know how the product will work. But prototyping nowadays, in most of cases, still, for most of the companies, don't take in consideration some other elements beyond the product, has the channel, has what really customers need, and how they want to use that product. So in this idea, we talk of technologies that nowadays can really put customers again in the innovation process, like for instance in Nubu, which is a platform where you can have your fans or your followers or the customers you consider and be working with them. Once again, this is something very linked with co-creation that we talked about before. How to really get knowledge for customers, how to really make them participate in a co-creation process. In this case, technology, this platform allows to really have the customers saying what they think of every different item that you put on your product, and then also very important, give some kind of reward these customers for their participation in the process. So something that is in a way solves the problem we were talking about how to co-create. And also talking about prototype, of course, we talk about the makers movement, the idea that is kind of trendy now, we can say, in US at least, the idea that people like to build things. And so we consider the idea that if really companies and small companies, the technology now is much better and especially it's much cheaper. So some theorists are talking about a revolution in in producing things, in making things in the same way that happened with computers just 2 decades ago. So the idea is in the future, everyone's going to be much more able to really produce things. So we, in this challenge, we ask ourselves if maybe in the future prototypes are going to be always the products. It's going to be the new products for early adopters, the same way that nowadays software, for instance, beta versions are always on the market, has a kind of prototype that you already can buy, but that the company is putting on the market, not just to sell, but to learn how to do much better the next version. Very related with this, also the idea of big data. We talked that has another challenge that nowadays technology allows to really get insights of what the market is demanding, but at the same time we ask ourselves if okay, the technology is there, but is there the cultural issues for organization in order to really leverage this information, and also the problem that how to really, once you've got all this data, all this information, how to turn this information in knowledge, which is not so easy. Then we told as examples of the data of companies that are already leveraging this idea of new data. For instance, Relevance, which is a startup company here in Barcelona, that is using all the names, so the adjectives that you can find linked to a brand or to a product in customer conversation about your product or your service on the social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, and how to take this knowledge and how to turn it in, how to take all this information, all this data, and turn it in really useful insights for your company. Another idea that's been talked about when we were deliberating about this, when we were talking and thinking about this challenge of big data, has been the idea of information visualization. The idea that nowadays we really need another way to really study all this data, and as examples we put some of the videos that you can find on YouTube with what MIT is doing with information visualization, which are very interesting and show how enormous volumes of data can be understood in just a few a very few short video of 30 seconds, because that's what information of visualization is about. And finally, has a kind of challenge that we consider that could be the ultimate challenge, because in a way summarize all these ideas, all these challenges that we've been talking about, is the idea of how to be able, for big, small companies, or big companies especially, how to be able to work as a startup. This challenge is based on the idea that we've been talking of different problems, different challenges that in many times the idea that was behind the problem was the cultural issues, how to be able to work in a different way. So we thought that maybe usually we consider that startups are the kind of companies that are much more able to react fast to the market, are much more able to engage your customers or engage even your employees. So how to be able to work as a startup even when you are not. In this sense, we talk obviously about the Google model, which is considered to be a kind of revolution in human resources management, the same way that Toyota was in logistics just a decade ago, or Ford was in massive production more decades ago. And also, of course, we presented the idea of lean startup, which is a kind of revolution nowadays in management. The idea in the concept of lean startup is that companies really need to be much faster reacting to the markets and prototyping in a different way that they've been doing until now. No? The idea that in order to prove a new product or service, you really have to produce it and put it on the market, maybe not on the whole market, but just on a kind of small niche of your market, in order to really prove it in a proper way. And this been the last of the challenge that we've been talking about. This is all.